All right, welcome to a special On My Block Friday edition because the Packers lost last night to the Tennessee Titans 27-17. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thank you as always for listening. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review. You can check me out, Mike Wahle68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram, on TikTok, Mike Wahle68 as well. Of course, if you're seeing this, you're probably on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment, ask us questions. We love giving feedback and kind of going back and forth with the Packer fans out there, NFL fans in general. Listen, this is a bad game. There's really another way to talk about it. I had three keys to the game last night. We have to win the game at the line of scrimmage on defense and get Henry to cut early. We did that to some extent. I mean, you look at Henry's overall numbers. I think I have him in front of me here. He was 28 for 87, 3.1 yards a carry and a touchdown. That's good. That's a winning combination for the Green Bay Packers, unless they have busted plays in the secondary all the time and Tannehill goes off 22 for 27, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. Henry does have a touchdown throwing, but Tannehill went off last night. We talked about it yesterday on the show. It's not that Tannehill can't throw. It's not that Tannehill isn't a guy that can complete passes at a high level. He's won in this league. He showed success. What you have to do with him is disguise coverages, create situations where he has to think a little bit too much, right, and take away his exit, particularly when he rolls out to the right. Tannehill could basically sit back last night. We busted coverages for big plays, and they dinked and dunked when they had to, and they just threw guys that were wide open when they had the opportunity. That's a combination for losing football. Anytime your quarterback throws for over 300 yards on this defense, not a good sign. I know we're crowding the line of scrimmage, but really, when we look at this tape, we'll look at it in a minute. It's really about busted coverages. Now, on offense, we had to establish our running game against a really good Titans run defense, and bottom line, we did not. Jones goes, 12 rushes, 40 yards, 3.3 average. Dillon, 6 rushes, 13 yards. 6 rushes, 13 yards for our 6'1", 250-pound running back. And it's part of it's because we got out physicaled. Part of it's because of scheme. And we'll show that again sometime, because that was really point number 3 that we made yesterday. Can we call the right game plan for 2 weeks in a row? And, between the lack of under center play action pass, obviously, you're limited. We only have 17 or 18 plays in the first half, but under center play action pass, that didn't happen until the one of the series in the second half in the third quarter. And we'll show the difference between under center play action pass and shotgun play action pass. It's fundamentally different. It has an effect on the defense that you just don't expect, maybe as a casual observer. We knew that you had to maintain your double teams in this game. You couldn't get split. You couldn't allow that linebacker who runs up to split you or to get you off the spot early. We allowed that to happen. So there's some schematic things. There was also some physicality. Those guys just play hard over there. Mike Vrabel's got them well coached. They play hard. They go into every game thinking they're going to be the most physical team. Yesterday, they certainly seemed like they were that, even though I have to keep reiterating this. Preston Smith had a great game. 1.5 sacks, was good on the line of scrimmage. I think we had 3 guys on defense that had 10-plus tackles, which is a function, obviously, that they're running the ball a lot and that they have a lot of snaps. But we did have guys that are out there making plays. Walker, Barnes, and Amos, 10-plus tackles each, right? But we did have too many third down, busted coverages, big plays, just allowing them to get out, started early in the game. I showed one on Twitter early on where we went from too high to we ran. It looks like we were running too high. We could have been running quarters. But backside safety traps the third guy. There is no third guy. He goes over the top. We're basically one-on-one. 25's one-on-one with Traylon Burks, their rookie, who is a great athlete, not a good athlete, a great athlete. Beats him for a big play on the first third down of the game. And it's that just kept happening. We have Darnell Savage in the middle, either playing robber or trying to trap 3, kind of looking, where'd he go? Where'd who go? And unfortunately, that happens too much with this team. Let's get into tape because I want to start with the offense today. And forgive me, I do not have I do not have access to the All-22 this early before. But first thing we want to talk about, I know this is a little bit dark. First thing is number 51 in the backfield for the Tennessee Titans was just David Long was just killing us with the way that with his aggressiveness in the run game. And he got our guys off of their double teams quick. You see our right guard just gets absolutely war-hammered right here. There's 3 people in the backfield. 98 beats our left guard. 93 splits our center and our right guard. And then 51 blows up our right guard. So Aaron Jones, and these are early down, first down, second down plays. This is 1st and 10. So what happens is you establish a pattern early in the first quarter, and it's very, very difficult as a play caller or as an offensive line mentality wise, running game, whatever. It's difficult to overcome this if you keep getting stuff first and second down early in the game. Okay, this is just a function of, are we going to be physical? Are we going to be the physical? Are we going to be the hammer of the nail? Are we going to be physical out there? And are we going to go to the right guy? So first things first, outside receiver. We got 3-on-3. We're blocking on a screen. This is set up to have success. This is a 5 to 10 to 15. This could be with the guy who's running the ball. This could be a big play. We get driven back on the outside. And on the inside, I believe this is Aguara. I couldn't see the number for sure. We actually bypass the man who ends up making the tackle. So when you see these kind of things, again, these are scripted plays. The expectation is you're going to know exactly what to do, who to get, how to get them. We run right by it, ends up getting on the play, get driven back. These are problematic. This is a bad way to start a football game. I'm showing two guys here. Number 97 is going to beat our center. Our center is going to step behind himself. We talked about it yesterday. When you step behind yourself, you're automatically going to have high pad level. You're going to get blown back into past the line of scrimmage. And they're going to see Elton Jenkins and Bakhtiari get split by number 95. And the real reason is we false step by our left guard. It's very difficult. Well, there's two things going on. One, schematically, this is a tough assignment for our left guard, because he's not being taught to stay square to the line of scrimmage as he rises. But when 56 shoots his gun right here, he has to turn to 95 to get the double team on the slip block with Bakhtiari, and then he immediately has to come back and try to make this play. It puts Bakhtiari in a bad spot. It puts Jenkins in a bad spot. It's disadvantageous. Schematically, it doesn't make sense. You could teach this a different way for him to keep his shoulders square, and they can stay a little tighter on this, but that's not how they teach it. Therefore, for this kind of play, it's a real problem. You'll see, watch your left guard first. He turns, and all of a sudden he has to come back, and you're just in a very, very bad position. Right? And Bakhtiari gets a little bit outside here and gets blown off the ball a little bit, but this is kind of salvageable if the guard doesn't have to completely turn his shoulders and turn back. It's just we don't stay square to the line of scrimmage. We got the inside again. My apologies on some of this the shading. You know how this works on QuickTime Player. I can't quite do this on my All 22 is not available at this time. I wanted to get some stuff out for you guys. But you look at our center gets beat immediately off the snap. Man in the backfield, you see him making the tackle right there on the nose tackle, and then 51 shot his gun again. Got a man on the ground. And again, if you're Aaron Jones, as you're receiving the football, people are coming at you, either getting tackled in the backfield or coming at you unabated in the backfield. And this is exactly what we want to do with Derrick Henry. Right? We wanted to make him have to cut in the backfield, stop his momentum. And the Titans really did a good job of getting penetration early. And a lot of this is a function of what we talked about yesterday. Can you maintain your double teams? Can you stay square with each other in your double teams like we saw in the last one or this one? Can you stay square? And so when you come off late. You force that linebacker to come to you. And the person who has to maintain pressure on the defensive tackle is in a better position to be successful, as opposed to kind of turning your shoulders to the sideline and now making it difficult to redirect. We get split immediately. We get center and left guard get split. I can't tell the footwork here. I'm going to assume that we took a large second step with the left guard and we took a small second step with the center. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to get split that easily. But you get split early in the backfield. So the first thing that Aaron Jones sees as he's coming down is, man, there's a guy here already, and I have to redirect before I want. Once you stop momentum, as good as Aaron Jones is, once you stop momentum against great teams with linebackers that fill like these guys do, it's a problem. It is a problem. And it's just initial footwork. It's initial aggressiveness. It's understanding that when guys penetrate, you have to be a lot more disciplined with your initial footwork. When we talk about you have to take a 4 to 6 inch timing step, you have to take a 4 to 6 inch timing step. You can't take a 10 to 12 inch timing step because you're going to overrun your center in this case. Want to say something, Tunyon. Tunyon is blocking, and I didn't put any highlights on here. I did it last week. I just want golf clap for him. Honestly, it's so good. And to see a guy who's evolving as a player. So last year, before he gets hurt, he's like, one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets, but he's not great in the run game. He's a liability. I'm not saying he's the most physical player in the world, but he really is working hard to be a physical blocker. He's taking a lot of pride in it, and he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players on this team because you can tell that it means a lot to him to be great in the more than one facet of the sport. So kudos to him. As we look at this play, this is a scheme problem. And this happens, but we've already seen the solution to this, not only with our team, but with other teams. So right now, the receiver down on the bottom of the screen, off the offset of the offset tight end, has to block the safety who's come down in the box. Now, we can look at this right now and figure out that he's not going to be able to get there. What most teams are doing now is they're bringing him inside, or they're bringing him hipped off the tight end, and they're allowing him to enter into the B gap or the C gap so he can make this play. Because obviously, if you can't get that guy blocked, he's going to be sitting in the hole. So we see that's exactly what happens here. And formationally, it's not that difficult to switch the tight end on the line of scrimmage and put Cobb off the ball, right? And I just wanted to show you as an example, and I think they drew it up last night. I don't have it right here, but Tennessee does the exact same thing later on. Again, just stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Okay, so this is the play I was referencing. They hip off. I think this is Robert Woods. They've got 12 personnel in the game, so they've got 2 tight ends in, and they hip Woods off so he can enter into this gap. So if Preston Smith crashes, they can help him bounce out. If Savage fills, he can attack him right here and have confrontation before he gets on our side of the line of scrimmage. This is what teams are doing to confront that issue that we just showed with Cobb, and we didn't do it. And it's just another one of those plays that doesn't quite work out. They do it. It works out down here on the end zone. They run in for a touchdown, right? And it's kind of simple stuff at this point. Okay, this is our first play under center play action. It's 14-6 in the third quarter. This is our first true under. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday is like because these guys run and fill the lane so aggressively, you have to do under center play action pass, because look at what it does to their linebackers. So right now we have 3 receivers at or beyond their linebackers, and all of their linebackers are still facing Aaron Rodgers, and our guys are running at full speed. Okay. So the separation that you have, this is not a free play, but this is as close as it gets to a free play with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, because you have massive separation now with your receivers in that pocket between the linebackers and the safeties. Quick play to Randall Cobb. Great. Okay. One of the very next play, I think there's 2 plays after this. This is what a lot of coaches are calling play action, okay? They're going to give this kind of look to Aaron Jones. Look at our offensive line. They do not have the demeanor that they're coming off the ball. Look at the linebackers post-snap. They do not buy it for a second. So when we talk about play action, like in other words, you might go to PFF, you might go to one of these places, and they'll say, oh, this is play action because he's doing a ball fake to Aaron Jones. Man, this is not play. This doesn't work. Every team in the league is looking at the demeanor of that offensive line, looking at the position of the running back, and just watch the linebackers on this play. See if you think they're actually running the ball here. Immediately break out. And this ends up being one of those plays I think Aaron would like to have back. That's not really the point. The point is we didn't get to that under center play action pass like we wanted to early in the game, and it cost us. I think it really cost us some opportunities for success because we knew how hard these guys drift. Now, these linebackers fill into the run game. Now, there's a couple of things you kind of talk about. One is the coaching staff spent a ridiculous amount of time putting together this package. Not only this week for a short week game, but also they probably started this 1 week, 2 weeks ago. Okay. And so what happens is usually you start adding plays that you just ran. You start adding things that you're familiar with, right? So this, of all the game plans that you have in the year, this is probably the most vanilla. And that goes for offense and defense. Okay, so hopefully what happens is when you get to a game like this, you're running things you're very, very comfortable running because you didn't really have time to prepare. You're going to have a handful of walkthroughs. You're going to have a couple of meetings, and then you're out here playing again, right? A lot of guys are trying to just get back healthy, feeling good enough to participate. We talked about it on the show yesterday. Like, should we even have these games anymore? Because I don't know if the players physically are kind of capable of getting to where they need to be from a physical standpoint this early in the week. Now, let's look at some defense stuff. And again, the game plan from stopping Derrick Henry largely went well. I think it's difficult because there are plays. He didn't have a lot of huge runs, but he has a lot of solid kind of, I can move the chains on these runs, right? Like if you average 3.3 in this league, 3 runs get you first down. I think he averaged, let me check. Yeah, he averaged 3.1. So he's pretty close to that, right? There's a couple fourth down plays that we got him on. We did a good job in the run game. Like, you have to be happy. You hold a guy for 28 carries for 87 yards like that. If our offensive line got him on 87 yards on 28 carries, we'd feel like a bunch of losers, right? So the Green Bay Packers from that standpoint did a great job. I know they put a lot of people at the line of scrimmage. What we're going to watch here is there are some things. Obviously, Tannehill had a great night. We can't disguise a lot of coverages when we have that many people crowded at the line of scrimmage. But when you have the opportunity to just make plays through communication, like, we have to be able to take advantage of that. So I want to show first Preston Smith here and Quay. But, Preston had a sack and a half, another good day. Like, I just love the way he's been playing. We look at the penetration here, but I think this is Kenny Clark against their center. And this is what you need. You need Derrick Henry to oh boy, wrong one. Sorry, guys. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for, can I get Derrick Henry to have to stop right here? He just got the ball. No momentum anymore. When you get this situation, success. That was the recipe for the Denver Broncos. That's what we did in large part last night. Okay, I wanted to show this. For any high school coaches out there, college coaches, when you do this kind of overload look and you've got your 2 defensive ends outside the tackle, please run a real stunt. Do not run this. Run a stunt that forces that guard and that tackle. So if you run like a true TE here with Enagbari being the tackle in this situation, you've got to run what you call like a mesh stunt, which means that he's got to actually try to beat the left guard into the B gap, and then you can have the defensive end come underneath. But if you just do this, Preston Smith is a good pass rusher against 71. Like, just let him rush if you're going to do. If this is all you're going to do, and just let him get pushed by, then neither of these guys are using skill, right? So all we're doing is Enagbari is just running upfield, getting pushed across by the guard, and now Preston Smith has to stop his momentum and come inside when he doesn't have any pass rush moves. Now, nobody else is going to show you this because this is a completed pass on the outside, but this is the kind of stuff, like when I'm watching film, you go, why are you doing this? This is a wasted rep with 2 guys that can both rush the passer, and particularly with the defensive tackle being Enagbari, having the speed to get into that B gap and really threaten with some kind of move. You try to beat the guy. You're actually trying to beat this player. And then as a consequence of beating the player and him opening his hips up into the B gap, now you can win underneath with Preston Smith because the guard has to stay on the penetrator. Guard doesn't have to stay on the penetrator here. This is too easy to punch and pass. Okay, so this is one of when we call it like busted coverages. So you got Savage and Jair Alexander down here, and they're going to carry the third tight end. So this is trips look. So we got linebacker carrying the tight end on the flat. Savage stops. Single safety high. We got man on the other side. We got man or match on the other side. We stop. So either Jair Alexander is supposed to carry the deep third, and Savage has the middle to the sideline here, or Savage is supposed to carry his man, and Jair is supposed to stay on his man when he does the 10-yard out. One way or another, the communication here is poor. They're both in the wrong spot. And this is, again, these are one of those, it's 14-9 game. These are big plays in the game. This is it's just honestly unnecessary, right? This is the kind of stuff that kills you. Under center, Ryan Tannehill's under center. They've got a fullback. They're in 12 or 21 personnel, depending on how you want to look at it. You look at the play action and what it does. Okay. So Chris Barnes has been sucked in, as he should be, because they're a run first team, 54% run, under center, turns his back, shows the ball. He does exactly what he should. He didn't do anything wrong. Jerry Alexander's in there because of just the way they're playing that defense with the tight end. But then, of course, like, big play. And to ask Chris Barnes to cover all of this is very, very difficult given the situation. Now, if we go back, Chris Barnes doesn't need to cover both of these things. I don't have the end zone copy, but there's a safety behind the corner here, and they both follow the high player. And the guy who breaks out, I don't know what the numbers are here. The player who breaks out is not covered by either one of them. This is a miscommunication. Chris Barnes is not responsible for the play side sail 7 or the play side, 10-yard out. He is not, or 15-yard out. He is not responsible for that. Okay, so a lot of people are going to look at this and go, oh, well, Chris is the only person in the screen. Yeah, that's the problem. One of the two players, whether it was Rasul Douglas or whoever's playing safety here, should be covering this. Miscommunication, big play. Right, that's a 2017 game right there at the time. I think 2 plays later they score. The game's essentially over. You're in the fourth quarter. Things don't go the way we want. Everyone's talking about whatever. But it's one of those years. So what I wanted to do is, a lot of fans had questions last night, and then this morning I want to hit those. So fan questions. This is one of my favorite questions. Is competitive spirit and resilience an innate quality, or can it be taught to a pro? And so this is actually something I do with my own my player development business. One of the things that we talk about, one of our first meetings, is about your non-negotiable character traits. And non-negotiable character traits are things like competitive mindset, willingness to take short-term pain for long-term gain, resilience, coachability. We have 7 tenets. This is something that if you are able to help an athlete identify within themselves and focus on, they can go from maybe a weakness to a source of strength. And what we always say with athletes is, if you want to be elite, if you want to be the best, you don't have to be a 5 at everything, but you can't have any 1s and 2s. And so I think the question is probably directed to guys that you think might have some 1s and 2s. Can we get them up to a 3 or 4? And the answer is absolutely yes. These are things that you can coach and train into people, but you have to be receptive to learning, and B, you have to be actually asking that question. And I think more often than not, and the reason that I have a player development business at all is because most coaches, most organizations don't tackle these kind of questions, right? So if you want to make, holistically, if you want to develop great athletes, that's probably, it's our first lesson, because to me, it's the most important thing that we do. It's the most important thing that we can do as far as helping athletes, is developing these non-negotiable character traits, 2 of which are resiliency and competitive mindset, competitive spirit. But these are not things that are addressed usually, except for in big speeches to the entire team. Hey, we have to have competitive spirit. Hey, we got to be resilient. It's like, how do you focus? How do you help athletes focus on that? That's really the question of the day. So we have a lot of questions about defense and defensive backs. Why do our defensive backs play off on 3rd down? Listen, that's by scheme. Sometimes we've had some conversations about, is our pass rush married up with our coverage, particularly when we're bringing pressure. We didn't bring a lot of pressure last night, and so when guys are playing off and they're playing, a lot of teams will play sticks, we seem to be playing the sticks a lot on 3rd down. So if it's the 6 or 8, we play at 8. The 6 or 10, we play at 10. My opinion, if you have good athletes, if you have first-round draft picks like we do, then the thought process would be, we should, 1, try to reroute at the line of scrimmage. And 2, anytime you give somebody an 8 or 10-yard head start, obviously going to be faster than you. So their reaction time is very, very difficult. I feel like you're playing into the other person's hand. You would like to get your hands on them earlier. And then that's why we have safety and safety help. The miscommunication, I think part of that is when guys are running full speed and everyone's at the same level, I think it's very difficult for defensive backs to all of a sudden know exactly who's being passed off. if you go back to the last play that we watched, if one of those defensive backs, if let's say Rasul Douglas was at the line of scrimmage and playing press man that entire play, I don't think the safety has a problem understanding where he's going, right? Because now the delineation and the separation is obvious to that guy, and he can make that decision. Same thing with Savage and Jerry Alexander on the other side. If one of them's up, the other one can read them both. But if they're both standing in the same spot, now the question is like, which one do I take? And I think that's one of the problems you see with this Packers secondary right now. I think the field goal, the question about special teams, the field goal, I think, was a low kick. With special teams, special teams are hard. The two questions I always ask are, one, how many of your starters are playing on teams? Because that kind of shows you that it's a priority, especially when your teams aren't doing well. Although I thought a return game was pretty good yesterday, to be honest. And then two, how much focus and attention does it get in practice? And what pace are you practicing at? Is it a walkthrough every day? Are you doing this thing's full speed? When you're playing, it's the same thing as like two guys playing in tandem and then trying to switch stuff off. Like if you're not playing fast all the time in special teams, especially when you talk about kickoff coverage, or if you don't get any live looks with field goal block, particularly field goal when you have the guys trying to bust through, like if you don't ever get those looks, you don't know the intensity, it's hard to prepare for that and then just be ready on the first look. So I think the harder you prepare, the more, it's the Greek philosopher Archilochus says, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. Firmly believe that's true in football. So the harder you prepare, the more confidence you gain that you're able to complete that task when you get into a situation that you're under the lights. Defensively, is scheme max? It's a good question. So is scheme maximizing the talent on defense? There's a ton of questions about Joe Barry's job. Listen, that's not my. It's so hard to coach in the National Football League. I have so much respect for these guys, and so when we talk about things, I try to make things as matter of fact as possible. Like I'm not saying, this isn't good job, bad job. Like it's a fact. Some of the things that we're looking at, you can verify in film. This is what's happening. The solution that they want to come up with is up to them. Is the scheme maximizing talent on defense? Well, if you believe that a first-round pick is highly, highly talented and has the ability to, not everybody's going to be like a Sauce Gardner on day one, right? But we have guys that are giving up big plays from the communication. I think the communication is more of an issue than the talent, if that makes sense. You saw it. I didn't even show the first time or the first play that I showed on Twitter last night where we had another busted coverage, but we talked about earlier. But what's happening is there's communication issues. There's uncertainty. That, to me, especially in the secondary, because the secondary is a lot like offensive line. We talked about this before earlier in the show. A lot of attention gets paid to things when things go poorly on offensive line, when poorly at defensive back. And so confidence is at a premium at that position. And if you are not confident, not only in yourself, but also your teammates, your scheme, and what you're doing, I think you run into problems. And if you were going to point to any one thing that is holding this defense back from a secondary standpoint, I would say communication, which is a result of preparation. Therefore, you have a confidence issue. So I think the better they prepare, the more serious they take their communication, the more serious they take their film study and preparation and know exactly what they do in every scenario, because there's a lot of scenarios this year that are being we are having communication and we're having coverage mistakes that seem like run-of-the-mill plays. If that makes sense to everybody. And then the last question, should the Packers play Jordan Love? I think if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the football team going forward, then Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the football team for the rest of the year. I think the Packers are now, I believe they are, they're 4-7. Okay, so they have, 6 games left. I think that you need to get some sort of rhythm momentum going into the next season. I think the difficult part is, there was a lot of talk on Sports Talk Radio this morning. Should you trade Aaron Rodgers? I don't know what his clause is in his contract. I don't know. I don't necessarily. That's an interesting idea at this point, being with the record that we have, being 4-7, knowing that you either use Jordan Love or you wasted a draft pick. How do you want to look at it? You either use him next year or you wasted a draft pick, because there's guys out there that we could have used that were in that position. And if you trade him, you're probably going to get a king's ransom because he is special. You put him on a lot of other teams right now with different schemes, different personnel, etc. He's a Super Bowl favorite. He makes damn near any team he goes to in the preseason a Super Bowl favorite. So if you want to trade him and he wants to be traded and he's just kind of tired of what's going on around there, I think you're going to get multiple first-round draft picks. You see what Seattle did with Russell Wilson's picks. Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson. So Seattle got first, second, third, fifth, and sixth are all star or future star players starting on their team right now. Best corner, one of the best rookie corners in the league. Running back, both offensive tackles. Nickel corner is the other guy. All ballers. That's the kind of draft you can have when you have high draft picks. I think they have 2 more draft picks this year because of Russell Wilson's deal. And so if you want to get that kind of king's ransom and go the draft route, and Aaron Rodgers wanted to leave, that's an idea. And then maybe you play Jordan Love. But if Aaron Rodgers is like, no, man, I'm sticking this out. This is my team. I'm going to retire Packer because I'm going to tell you from experience, it is a big deal for a guy to stay at the same place, especially the Green Bay Packers. It is a big deal to stay with that team. If I have a couple of regrets with my career. One of the biggest is thinking that the grass was going to be greener somewhere outside of Green Bay. Green Bay is a special place. It's a special organization. And if you are lucky enough that they want to keep you around for your entirety of your career, Mark Tausch, Chad Clifton, 2 of my good friends, right? Spent their whole careers there. They are looked at differently than some of the other guys that played those positions because those other guys moved on, right? There's a reason for that. They earned that because they decided that was the place for them to be. And Green Bay wanted to have them around because they were such good players. As long as he wants to be there, I think you keep him in the game. I don't think you play Jordan Love. I guess a short answer to that. Listen, we'll probably, Amon and I will hit this after the weekend again. We're going to do a preview of the next week's game. If you guys have any questions, hit me up, Mike Wahle 60 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Please, if you're enjoying these, if you're enjoying the breakdowns, subscribe, rate, and review. Next week, we'll get some more clips up with the All-22 that's not going to have all these shading problems. This is trying to work technology on NFL Plus. It's much more difficult than the Exos platform that I have. So thanks for listening, guys. Hope you have a good weekend.